Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, one last shot to trick me into buying a Xenoblade Chronicles game. Meet the old man at the grave, and the Nintendo Cartridge Society meets the old man with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including Nintendo publishing a music app on iOS and Android, which is only something we've been asking for years and years and years. And then on Thursday, we're talking about our favorite Nintendo comfort foods. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
It's going great. Just right up top,
Right up top.
we're going to address the elephant in the room.
Right. Maybe the donkey in the room as well.
Yeah.
There's an election in the United States, and if you've already voted, go ahead and skip forward 30 seconds
That's
here.
right.
We know we're probably preaching to the choir, and all of you have probably already voted.
And we know that you don't come to us for hot political takes.
Right. Right. Yes, you come to us for like cold Nintendo takes.
Right.
And my prophetic ability to tell you when the next Switch is going to come out. Mark, I'm saying May.
If I were a betting man,
Yeah.
I would bet on it at this point
Yeah.
because there's some spooky things going on with you
Yeah.
and
I'm in
Nintendo.
tune with Nintendo right
Yeah,
now.
some mind melding.
Hopefully I'm also in tune with the American electorate, because I would really just if anyone is on the fence about if you're going to vote today, and if you are able to vote, I really just hope that you do and that you vote for Kamala Harris. It's important and big and all this stuff that like I know you know, but like it didn't feel right to not address it at all.
Yeah, and if there was anybody who was on the fence that if for some reason you needed two Nintendo knuckleheads to encourage you to
Should we
get out
change
and
the
do
name
it
of the show to
to
Nintendo
Knuckleheads. I feel like it's like a subtitle.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you needed two Nintendo Knuckleheads to ask you, remind you,
Yes.
we just wanted to make sure we sent that message today.
Yeah, and hey, if you already did it, if you did any work for like the Harris campaign or anything like local or anything like that, thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
We appreciate it. Man, it's the election is today. Crazy stuff. Can't believe it's already happening. Mark, if people want to support us in a non-voting way, they can head on over to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if they're supporting us at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, they get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries like NCS Arcade.
That's right.
There's a fresh one sitting in there for you right now.
Yeah, we just talked about Ecco the Dolphin.
Mm-hmm.
And so that discussion is out there now for anybody who supports us at the 8-bit or 16-bit level.
Yep.
And please.
Can I share a thought that I had about Ecco the Dolphin that I like wrote in my notes and didn't share on the episode?
Oh, yeah, please.
So, okay, and we will have another conversation about Ecco in a little bit with your emails. Email us Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
Anyone can access that listener feedback episode. Anyone can email us as long as you are following us on Patreon, free or paid. It doesn't matter. But the thought that I had about Ecco the Dolphin is that it is so difficult and so like tricky to control that it's like if someone made a whole game out of the dam section in the Ninja Turtles game on NES. That's all about swimming in mazes that you can't understand, and you can barely control your turtle as he avoids electric, kelp or whatever. That was that was all of Ecco the Dolphin.
I don't think I'm familiar with that level in the Ninja Turtle
with
games.
it?
I don't think so.
It's the one like before the arcade game, so it's like the one that's like really side scrolly.
Okay.
So the second level in the game is like half normal Ninja Turtle level, and then the second half is you're just swimming to disarm 8 bombs. It is like a notoriously hard level in that game, and it's sort of like the gate for all children who never see the second, like 75% of that game.
Yeah, that sounds like Ecco the Dolphin.
That sounds like Ecco the Dolphin,
Yeah.
doesn't it? But yes, so write into us with your thoughts, your questions, your memories about Echo the Dolphin. We got about a week, and then we're going to record that listener feedback episode. But Mark, this means that we also can announce, we did it on the episode itself, but not everyone listens to the Patreon episodes, we know, what we're going to be doing for November.
Yeah, we're going to be playing Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga.
That's right. And I'll be playing the remake on 3DS. Mark is going to be playing the GBA version on Nintendo Switch Online. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. This will be my first real go at a Mario and Luigi game. Topical.
Yes.
Perfect timing.
Yes, because there's one coming out this week, which, like, maybe isn't looking so hot. We don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. You should get in the Discord if you're not already, where you can also talk about it. Email us again, Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
And I will send you an invitation. You can jump in and chat with people who are talking about Nintendo stuff all the time. Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. Of course, we've both been playing Echo the Dolphin.
Yeah, that's really consumed most of the time I've had to play games.
Yes.
And so I haven't really done much else. What about you?
Well, first, I have three things listed here, and the first is going to be the easiest to just like knock off the list is the Nintendo Alarmo.
Oh, yeah. What is the status?
Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo. Still largely being used as just a clock.
But you still have it in your room.
I still have it in my room.
Yeah, it's all set up.
Well, so previously, Sarah had an alarm clock on her side of the bed, and I have had nothing. Because I don't need an alarm to wake up, and it doesn't really matter to me what time it is when my body wakes up. It's like time to get up, right? I do not recall. In fact, I know that I didn't put the Alarmo on Wi-Fi because I didn't enter the Wi-Fi password.
Okay.
Right? It knew this last weekend was daylight savings, right? Or daylight savings ended.
Okay.
And it knew and changed the time by itself.
Interesting. I wonder if it is connected through your... I mean, no, that doesn't make sense. I was going to say through like the Nintendo Switch Online app, but even then it seems like there'd have to be some interfacing you would have to do.
It knows what region of the world it's in.
Okay.
Right? So like you set time zone on it. And it knows the date. So like maybe that's enough. But
maybe
these things like laws have been written to change this, right?
Right.
Or to allow states to opt in or out. Yeah, I don't. How did it know?
Spooky. But you haven't received because weren't there like title updates where they added new stuff? Did you receive any of those?
Have not happened.
Yeah, it must be maybe. Yeah, I guess maybe it's programmed into it.
Maybe they just know. Maybe when you're releasing it at like a smart electronic clock so close to the end of daylight savings, you're like, this one is hardwired into it.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll check back in April. Let's set up like a reminder to remind us to check back in April. I still have left mine in the box.
Great.
I have not taken it out.
I wanted to change mine to the Legend of Zelda, the Breath of the Wild background and music and stuff. But you can only do that when you are setting an alarm. So if you're not setting an alarm, and I suppose I could set an alarm and then turn it off.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's only during that portion that you can change the theme on the thing.
That's interesting. Does Sarah still have an alarm clock?
Yes.
So now you have dueling alarm clocks.
I mean, we have one alarm clock and one sound clock alarmo.
So you don't. Great, that's a good point.
Thank you.
You don't. So you don't set an alarm.
That's right.
It's just a bedside clock for you.
That's right. And the thing that I do think is neat about it is since the clock face is a screen that is like luminous and casts off light, if it senses you not moving, the screen dulls completely.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I am asleep and not tossy-turny, it doesn't add any like light pollution to the room. But the second I'm like, and like kind of, rolling around, then it's like, it's 5:30. And that's, it's just nice. The other two things, Mark, that I've been playing this week, Sarah and I played another round of Super Mario Party Jamboree on Saturday evening. We went out for drinks in the neighborhood, came back, and we're like, what do you want to do? We played Mario Party. We played in the mall, the Rainbow Mall. And there's so many like paths that like loop back around on each other. It's like kind of a Like the board itself is very engaging and like had us both like uh using strategy to like plan like, okay, well, if I go up here, I'm probably on track to the star, but like then I'm stuck up there for a little while if the star moves, and like there are all these shops on this level, so I'm gonna like let this shot of like going after the star go. It was actually a very fun time. I still haven't played it with 4 people yet, and I look forward to doing that at some point, maybe at Connor's birthday party.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun. Are there, when you play with 2 people, is it just the 2 of you going against each other in the mini games, or they have computer
No,
players?
there are computer players, and there are computer players on the board as well too. Like I don't think it won't let you do a game that is just 2 human players.
And do you have a go-to character?
No. So the first time we played, I was what was I? I was like one of like the little villain, like with like a Koopa Trooper or the Goomba or something. And then this last time I was Wario. And it's the same. Like, the experience is the same. And then,
But don't you get joy out of knowing that you smell like garlic when
Yeah.
you're playing as Wario?
Oh, when I'm playing as Wario. And then, of course, the other
I
thing
guess
that
Goombas could smell like garlic. I
yeah,
don't know.
we don't know.
Like a shy guy
They
that
don't
had
smell
some.
good.
Yeah, Goombas. That's a good point. But Goombas aren't like. Goombas don't shed, right? Goombas aren't hairy.
I don't think they have fur. No, I think they're like fungal. Right?
Yeah.
Like they're mushroom shaped, so I assume that they are. What's a Goomba's skin like? Like a dolphin? I got Ecco on the brain.
Yeah, maybe, but maybe it is like a, like a mushroom, like a mushroomy texture.
Yeah, right in, listeners. We want to know.
But the thing that's
what you
distressing
think a
about that
Goomba's
thought,
skin feels
the
like.
thing that's distressing about right. The thing that's distressing about that thought is like, can you peel apart a Goomba like you could, where you could just like
Yeah, I
remove
think-
sections?
The thing is, I think you like as soon as you start to peel a Goomba apart, it just like disappears in that like puff,
yeah.
like when you jump on a Goomba.
I like that. Yeah, that feels soothing to me.
I think they can only die like instantaneously.
Yeah,
right, and then they just cease to exist. But of course, the other thing that I've
do
played,
Goombas go to heaven?
oh boy, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think they just like get queued up to. I think they're basically reincarnated, right? That they like their little bit of consciousness rejoins the hive mind that is like the Goomba fungal intelligence.
Yeah.
And then it like gets fed back out into the next Goomba.
Yeah, so like in one of these Mario games, in classic fantasy tropes, you'll have to kill the like main Goomba,
and all the
Goomba, all the Goombas
will disappear.
Uh-huh.
So I think as they're being like basically reincarnated, I don't think they like carry over memories.
I don't think so either.
But
no.
maybe like instincts, right? Like maybe an individual Goomba who like got burned to death or whatever, hit by a fireball, that when he comes back, he doesn't know why, but he's like a little bit afraid of fire.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Mark, I've been playing the Nintendo Switch Online playtest.
Okay, tell me about
you and I have not had
experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
So I played the night it was originally available. Didn't play for like a week and a half. Played a little bit this morning. So I don't have a lot of experience with the playtest, but I do have very early impressions, and then also like now 2 weeks later, and I think it goes away tomorrow. Is that right? Or on Tuesday?
That could be true, yeah.
So I maybe have one more opportunity to hop in. But I mean, this is just so profoundly not my kind of game so far. But what I did do is like I went back into the grotesque tower that I had built to put my beacon as high up as possible, and like shored up some of the platforms and like built pillars to like hold things up so it wouldn't just like collapse. And I found the like sloppy building to be like fun but aesthetically unpleasant, and then I found the aesthetically pleasant building to be laborious and kind of boring. Even with the amount of time I spent on it being like, oh man, this is taking me forever, I didn't get nearly as high as I did when building sloppy. So I don't know, weird little trade-off there. But the game does do a nice job of incentivizing you to interact with other players, albeit in a fairly shallow way. When you encounter another player, either like out on the globe itself or in the sort of like developer center or whatever it's called, you push up on the D-pad and the your guy like turns his tail into a hand, and like offers to like shake hands with another player,
like an avatar.
Yeah, it is just like an avatar. Oh my god, I can't believe I didn't put that together. But it turns into it's like a Battletoads, right?
Okay, yeah.
Hand. How many more references to explain what's happening in this weird playtest? And you just have like a quick exchange of like your profile cards, which have like your developer points and there's another like creator points or something like that. And you gain a couple points in each of those categories every time you like meet someone and shake hands with them. I think I am also like linking with these other players so that if I ever create something, they can get a duplicate of it or buy it at the store, and vice versa. But so the actual like things that you can create, and I've not really delved into what the mechanism by which you actually create these things is, but like items or like costumes that can be basically anything, but almost always end up being like a Jigglypuff and a Pikachu and like some Dragon Ball guy and whatever, are like sort of line the UGC stores in the game itself.
Yeah, that feels inevitable to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, obviously Nintendo asked people not to talk about it.
Oops.
And no, but I guess what I was going to say is like I have not gone searching for discussion around like how people are feeling about it or a lot of people's like experiences. I haven't done like a dive into the corners where I'm sure people are talking about it. I'm sure there is that discussion. But I don't know. I don't get the sense that this specific playtest is setting the world on fire, that people are like really into.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do think you have to just like keep in mind how few people 10,000 people is, which is was the cap on how many people they were going to let into this, right? And how many people like me have only played it now twice.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like you have to assume that as many as like a quarter don't play it at all, right?
Right.
So yeah, I think they're probably there. I have also not seen very many impressions of it. Obviously, like right when it launched, there were people just like rushing to be like the first to say something about it or share some stuff. It's also like sharing stuff on social media during the end of a presidential election in the United States means it just gets drowned out. So I'm sure it's out there and someone has carefully documented like everything. But it's just such this kind of game feels like a small percentage of people who play it are going to get like really involved, and you can see that on like the leaderboards in the game, that like who's created with like the most popular creations, and it's like the same guy 30 times. Like one person got really into it, and like everyone else is kind of like using their user generated content. I don't know. I don't have any like grand conclusion to draw from this thing. Other than I still feel largely directionless as I run around the globe, and I don't really know. And I reached the point where the game is like, okay, I'm gonna stop directing you off on your own, and I'm like, to do for why? Why am I doing this? And I don't feel particularly driven to build for the sake of building. So yeah, I mean, I'm it, like I said, I think it's running out tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to be revisiting it before they shut it down.
I am now just so curious as to when we see this again or what it turns into, if anything, because it doesn't seem likely to me that, of course, I was wrong about this in its entirety, but it doesn't seem
embarrassingly so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Still egg on my face
all
for
over
sure.
Your face. Yeah.
But I am not anticipating that this playtest ends and then a week or two later,
no,
it comes out of beta or whatever.
Right.
It feels like they will use whatever information they get and the survey results and all of that to do something, and maybe it turns into elements in a game in the future that there's no direct way to draw a connection between them.
Right.
Unless maybe in the next Animal Crossing you shake tails with each other, and that is how
I can't.
You're able to share
I have to
recipes.
express that like the tail itself is like a white glowing like thing behind you, and when it turns into a hand, it like almost turns into like a neon sign version of a hand.
That's so funny.
And, like it's cool, and like it's interesting that the thing has its own aesthetic.
I was kind of hoping that, because when you booted it up and the way that they talk about like, oh, like your new form has a tail.
Right.
I was kind of hoping that other people in the world would have different things.
Oh yeah, that
so
would
like
be fun.
you got a tail,
Right.
somebody else got ears, somebody else got, or like cat ears, or somebody else
or
got
bat wings.
right.
Yeah.
Maybe I guess that's my one wish for whatever this turns into.
Right. You just want to have cat ears and bat wings.
That's right.
Halloween is over, Mark. We're not doing that anymore. Okay, well anyway, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Today, Tuesday, November 5th, Metal Slug Tactics is released digitally.
I have not seen have reviews posted for this thing. They must have, right?
Yeah, you would think so, but I feel like everybody's eyes were on Mario and Luigi Brothership.
Right, which let's just talk about that.
Yeah, okay, so that comes out on Thursday, November
Uh-huh.
7th, and reviews dropped on Monday.
And like middling to there's a couple like standout bad reviews.
Yeah,
for the game.
IGN gave it a 5
Right.
out of 10, which is really harsh for
Mhm.
IGN. The other ones, I think the Metacritic average is an 80, and OpenCritic was like 79 or
yeah.
something.
Mhm.
And I don't have any expectations for this game,
Right.
really. I actually don't even think I have it pre-ordered. I bought another set of vouchers, of
Mhm.
Nintendo Switch Online vouchers, and I used one of them, I want to say, for the Dragon Quest 3
No,
HD2D remake.
I don't think it's voucher eligible.
Oh, okay. Then I don't know what I
Mm.
bought with it, but I don't think it's Mario and Luigi Brothership. And since we're playing a Mario and Luigi game for NCS Arcade on the Patreon, I don't know if or when I will be picking this up.
Well, I have to, as you know, buy it.
And we're coming to the end of that.
This is what I was about to say, is that I think this is the last game that I have to buy as part of my pledge to buy everything Nintendo puts out in 2024.
Wow.
Because like we have games announced for after Brothership, just not this year. So I feel like, and I have now, using a voucher, pre-ordered my copy of Brothership. I feel like I've done it.
One thing that would be fun to do would go back and look at everything you bought.
Yeah.
And sort it into categories of, I would have bought this anyways.
Right. Yes.
And I only bought this because I was obligated to.
Right. Yeah. And I wonder how that would go.
Because, like, would you have bought the Hyrule Nintendo Lite?
No,
if
I would not. I would not.
If you had a Meta pledge to.
And it's possible that I would also hold off on Brothership, even though like I'm interested in a new like Nintendo RPG. Honestly, I think I would have. I would not have purchased Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door.
Man, that is one that I bought and played for a little bit, and just have not returned to.
Mark, I was just looking at my friends list on the Nintendo Switch earlier, and I noticed that your Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom playtime is very low.
Oh yeah, I really have put maybe 1 hour into that game.
That's what the Switch says.
I haven't had a lot of time really for the past like month or so to put into video games, and the like hour, I think I talked about this on the show. The hour that I put into Echoes of Wisdom, that's not really enough time to get a flavor for what the game is and to like really appreciate it, because I didn't like the first hour or so of Tears of the Kingdom, and then once I really got going, I got caught up in it. But Echoes of Wisdom did not grab me, and I have had a hard time wanting to return to it. And so I'm thinking around the holidays, if I'm not going to pick up Brothership, that hopefully that'll be a time that I can at least get further into it and make real conclusions versus just kind of like the surface level kind of indifference that I felt after the first hour.
Yeah, I mean, mostly I would just like to talk about the game with you.
Yeah.
Right? And at this point, I'm anything I could say about it is like kind of a spoiler. For,
Right, because I'm just not that far in.
I haven't played much.
Yeah.
1 hour, I saw it, and I was like, Mar.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't like how this thing tattles on us. Doesn't seem fair. Anything else coming out this week of note? I guess not really.
Yeah, there wasn't really anything else I wanted to call out.
Yeah, it does feel weird though that we are basically now with Mario Luigi Brothership. We're to the end of Nintendo's like year of release stuff.
I mean, we are perilously
far as we
close to
know.
the end of the year.
Right.
Like, we're just going to barrel through. Thanksgiving is just mere weeks away.
Yeah,
and then,
although it's late this year. Thanksgiving is late this year.
yes.
But yeah, and then we just roll into Christmas, and that's all just like as far as Nintendo is concerned, really just going to be those bundles. And that's it.
Yep.
And then January sometime, we hear about a new Switch.
And if nothing else, we have Donkey Kong Country Returns HD.
If nothing else, we got Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which is a full price $59.99 game. All right, Mark, let's close out the new releases. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, where a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, this is your topic here. Why don't you set it up for us?
Yeah, so Halloween was this past week, and my neighborhood generally gets a lot of trick-or-treaters.
Yes.
And so we were prepared with a lot of candy.
Right.
But this year we got less trick-or-treaters than we have in the past. I don't know why exactly. Maybe because it was on Thursday and people had trick-or-treated on the weekend before. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, I do think the Thursday Halloween makes it odd where you're like, okay, do you do Halloween like 6 days before Halloween?
Right.
Like, you know, like when do you actually do these things?
But that means...
Is this your trick-or-treat bowl game right here? The bowl that we have on the table here? This is the bowl that
Yeah,
goes
it's just
out?
a red plastic
Just a red
bowl.
plastic bowl. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
I'm sorry for the audible disdain in my voice when I ask that question.
you know, when I hand out candy, I don't dress up.
Right.
We didn't put up like any decorations this year or anything. Actually, maybe that was also part of the reason. I don't really like Halloween, but I do enjoy giving candy because we are a house that we give out like fistfuls of candy.
Sure.
So when somebody comes, it's just like, oh, here's like 2 scoops for you.
Right.
Because we
have
bought
those
a
big,
ton
like,
of candy.
raisin scoops.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So that means that
can I just share with you what
Yeah,
our
please.
trick or treat? So you know, we live on the second story of an apartment building that has like an outdoor staircase. Our door opens to the outside, so like, you know, presumably kids could be trick or treating right to our door, but you got to brave some stairs and go past like another door. So it seldom happens. Every year we buy candy and then eat it ourselves. This year, however, we got one brave trick or treater who came all the way up the stairs and got some candy from our the Super Mario Brothers movie popcorn tin.
Oh, that's fun.
That I filled with candy bars.
Yeah, some of because we have like a little stair up to our house, and even then I'm a little sometimes nervous for the kids that they're going to trip on their costume or something like that. But it sounds like they made your steps successfully.
Yes, that's right. They made the steps successfully. And should I like be trying to be like out there on the sidewalk with like candy?
Yeah, does your neighborhood get
a
fair amount of trick-or-treaters?
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, you know, no one's going to go up those stairs.
Okay, so you had disdain for my bowl.
Yeah.
But before last year when the Super Mario Brothers movie came out, what bowl were you using?
I don't
Aha!
feel like
J'accuse!
No!
Oh, how easy it is now that you have
Now
Super
that I have a
Mario
very
Brothers.
cool bowl.
Yeah.
Yes. Last year I would have had that bowl for Halloween.
So high and mighty now that the Super Mario... See, at least one good thing came out of the Super Mario Brothers movie.
I think the episode we did on it with Emily was good.
Yeah, that was fun.
Sorry, go on.
What kind of candy do you buy? Are you a candy or chocolate candy?
I'm a chocolate candy.
Mm-hmm.
For sure, chocolate candy. Let's discuss your bowl because we're running out of time.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's see.
We wanted to do a little like autopsy, a little like post-mortem.
So we have these big like Twizzler twist chunks.
Yes.
And I think Twizzlers are really gross. And it's definitely filler candy. And this is one area where just giving out handfuls of candy is really nice because you get rid of this stuff.
Right. Because it just goes with the rest of it.
Exactly.
So what's left in this bowl is not the result of children picking around.
That's right.
Okay.
I don't play like that.
Right.
Like because it just would take forever.
Right.
And I'm just like scooping out. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm just scooping out candy.
So
we got some nerds. We got some Snickers. We got some Twizzler.
You got some Reese's
some
Cups.
Yeah,
like
Reese's Cup.
Like the full-size Reese's Cup.
Not
like
that's
the little
right.
miniatures.
Let's see. Hershey's. I'm always surprised. 100 Grands were really popular. There were a number of kids that like saw 100 Grands in the bowl and were like,
"Give me that 100 grand."
Yeah.
I notice you're ignoring the Three Musketeers.
No, I should.
Does anybody like a Three Musketeers?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a
give it to
fine candy bar.
Give it to me.
But given the opportunity,
oh god,
Oh, he just jumped.
well, I think that truly marks the end of 433.
Yes. Today we were accompanied by the CWU Viola Ensemble. A performance they put up on Facebook, which is why it autoplayed like another video as soon as it was over. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about what happened last week, because on Monday, rumors started spreading like wildfire online.
Was it on Monday that?
I think it was on Monday
Might have been
because
on Sunday,
you and I were texting. Maybe it was on Sunday. Oh,
Right.
yeah, it must have been on Sunday. And then you and I were messaging about it.
Right. Because we knew that you were going to be out of town.
That's right. And it was like, please let not a big hardware announcement happen
Right.
while I'm traveling.
That's right.
While I'm unavailable. So, but Sunday, rumors started spreading that an announcement from Nintendo was imminent. And
what at this point in our lives could a big announcement from Nintendo even be?
Exactly. It quickly morphed into the expectation that Nintendo was getting ready to announce new hardware. Because like you said, Patrick, what else could Nintendo possibly have to announce at the end of October in the year of our Lord 2024?
It turns out just games.
Yeah, just a
Game,
game.
Yeah.
The thing they were finally ready to talk about was Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch, releasing March 20th, 2025. It's a port of the game from the Wii U that includes enhanced visuals, some new story elements, and more.
Just of course want to note that March 20th is a Thursday. But can we just talk about do we need to spend any time on the fact that like, I don't know, it's neat that now all the Xenoblade Chronicles games will be on Switch. That's an impressive thing that they've collected all of those games. You and I aren't big Xenoblade guys, so it doesn't mean that much to us.
Yeah, this one, the fact that it's like a standalone entry and it's open world, I don't know. This one intrigues me more than the other three, but that's obviously on a spectrum, right? Where it's like, it intrigues me more than the other three Xenoblade Chronicles games.
But not so much.
But is it enough that I will buy it?
Well,
I don't know.
To be fair to the Xenoblade Chronicles series, they're all sort of standalone. Like, they exist in the same reality, but there's like thousands of years between them.
That makes sense. My understanding of three is that it's best appreciated as like a series conclusion if you're familiar with the other two.
Sure.
But that doesn't preclude what you were saying,
Right,
that like
right.
they're each standalone experiences. But yeah, the part that is most interesting to me personally, I do, like you said, I think it's nice that all the Xenoblade Chronicles games are there. I think it's nice that X or Cross, whatever.
No, it's definitely X.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That people have an affinity for is off of the Wii U and onto the Switch. So it's not going to be orphaned on the Wii U. But for me, the most interesting part of all this is kind of the game of telephone
Sure.
that happened with the rumors where it was like, okay, Nintendo's going to announce something, and people, I don't know who these people are saying that for sure an announcement is coming because, some of the press outlets were given a heads up or knew about it.
Right. All of the normal publicity signifiers were firing, and so people were just like, Nintendo's cooked for this year. They're not putting out another game this year. This has got to be it. The thing we're all waiting for. And like, it's amazing that Nintendo had two pretty big for Nintendo announcements last week, and neither one was the reveal of the Switch 2.
Yeah, and October had Alarmo as well.
Yeah.
They were just like, October, okay, this is when we're getting
putting
all the announcements out.
Right.
The other reason why people were speculating that it could be Switch 2 related is that Nintendo is releasing their latest earnings report in the next couple of days, maybe in the next couple hours or something.
Yeah, that's right. I believe it is this week, the 5th. Yeah, so the election day. Yeah, and it's like an earnings call, right? It's the one that has like a whole meeting and like
possibly. Yeah. And
investors.
the Switch had been announced like a little bit before their earnings call around the same time in 2016. And they had talked about like the reveal. And so that was the other reason people were like, well, if they're following the Switch timing, then it all like lines up. Anyways, it
and
didn't.
we're in that pocket, right? It was, I believe it was October 20th that the first video ran. And so like, we're in that area. It all makes sense where it's like, this certainly could be what this is. But people were like, it certainly couldn't be anything else.
Right. And then it was. So yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles X releasing March 20th, 2025, which puts us through the first quarter of 2025, and we have some Nintendo first party releases already lined up.
Right. For the Switch in its 9th year.
But that's going to continue to be the story because the Switch is so big, they're not going to stop releasing games for it. I expect that
that's the thinking.
We'll have announcements for the Switch through 2025 and maybe into 2026, depending on how quickly. Because it feels like Nintendo was prepared to support the 3DS for longer than they did. It was just that, the adoption of the Switch was so quick that they just stopped releasing games for anything earlier.
Right. But I mean, like the sort of crazy thing is, if the new Switch is, as we all assume, backwards compatible, you release a game for original Switch, it hits both audiences. So like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's we obviously have no idea what that release strategy is going to look like. But yeah, I mean, I would expect that they would be releasing Nintendo Switch games into the 10th year.
Yeah, I think so
Switch's
too.
life cycle. And there's sort of like the only other precedent for that in Nintendo's history is the original Game Boy, right? We don't switch over to the GBA until 2001, right? So that was like 12 years on the market. 11, we'll say, because it comes out in December of 89. So it's basically 90. But yeah, so like if games come out on Switch for the next 2 years still, it ties it with Game Boy for like the longest running first party library.
That's so crazy.
Nuts stuff. I do think that the release date of March 20th is also kind of like, where does that lie in relationship to the next Switch? I think, and also, what about the two games that we don't know release dates for? Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and Pokemon Legends Z/A. Are those going to be coming out around that same time, later? Are either of those cross-generational games? Do either of those come out on Switch, but after the Switch 2 is out? Like, I don't know. The landscape is all question marks right now.
It also makes you wonder, like, what will be the Switch's software releases into next year? Because on the 3DS, you're getting things like Luigi's Mansion remake with Gooigi and stuff like that. And what does Nintendo have? Because this year was a lot of that stuff on the Switch already.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and early next year seems to be as well. You have Xenoblade Chronicles X. You have Donkey Kong Country Returns HD.
Right.
So, what else do they have that's kind of that caliber?
Right.
Or do they have another like surprise of a big, like even an Echoes of Wisdom
Yep.
style game, not style game, but like tier
Right. That
of
that
release.
level of,
Yeah.
of that like kind of B tier, um, level of game. All very exciting. Get in the pool, Xenoblade Chronicles X. You can join your brothers, and the whole series is on there. And I think it's just like that and Pikmin are like the only two where like all the mainline games are now on Switch.
Yeah, but also, what does that leave as Wii U orphans? Nintendo Land,
Right, Nintendo Land, the HD remakes of
the
Wind
Zelda
Waker
games.
and Twilight Princess. Nintendo, no, what's it called? NES Remix Volumes 1 and 2.
right,
Although
yeah.
those did get remakes on
3DS.
3DS. But Woolly World is the same. Yoshi's Woolly World is another one that is
Yeah,
the
so there's
same.
still some
There's a handful.
Amiibo Festival.
Yeah,
Star Fox Zero.
That's Star Fox Zero.
So there
and Guard.
and
of course.
Guard. So there are still a few out there, but
Mhm.
the list is definitely dwindling. But that's not all that Nintendo had up its sleeve last week, as has often been the case. Right around the time that annual auto renewals for Nintendo Switch Online members who subscribed like right at launch, and
Yes.
then again at the launch of Plus Expansion Pack, which happened at the end of October, in 2022, maybe.
It was 3 years ago. So
Okay.
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
Right around this time, they seemed to kind of sweeten the pot and for Nintendo Switch Online subscribers, and that proved to be true this year with a new phone app dedicated to Nintendo Music called Nintendo Music. It has basically all the functionality you expect of a music player. You can create and share custom playlists. You can download the music. You can, in a very Nintendo way, you can extend some songs for 15, 30, or 60 minutes.
Which this actually makes perfect sense to me because a lot of these are like loop-based tracks. But, they will, include, I mean, obviously like Jump Up Superstars on here, right? And that is a song with a form, choruses and verses, a bridge, and then it ends. So like, there's no extending that one from the inside. And they do that with like some like menu music and like end credits music. But there's also like pieces of music that were used in trailers, like the Breath of the Wild, like the two big like trailer pieces of music, which are both awesome, are in this thing, even though they wouldn't have been included in like the actual game data. So yeah, that kind of stuff you can't expand to 15, 30, or 60 minutes.
But I love that they included this as an option, knowing that
that's how people use it.
Yeah, that's how people would use it. There's also a spoiler filter, so if you haven't played like Tears of the Kingdom, for example, you can go into settings and add that game to the list, and it won't suggest tracks from that game to you.
Is it that they won't suggest any tracks, or do they like pick the ones that are like from the end?
I
of the
don't
game
know. I haven't used it, but I think it's just they filter out that game entirely.
Okay, all right.
But I could be wrong.
Well, if it is that, then like it might be useful in just because there are a lot of times where I'll just do the like Nintendo Selects playlist, the one that they're just like it's there like hot now kind of playlist, or sometimes I'll just be like shuffle everything, and if I could just like get Game Boy Dr. Mario out of there.
There is so I really like they have playlists that are mood based. It's like for getting pumped up, going for a run, for chilling out. And I think I was listening to the like relaxation one, or maybe it was like ending your day one or something like that. And it's all this great stuff, really enjoying it. And then there's a Game Boy Advance
Fire
Emblem track that I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
It was not
it was not
very good.
You know how you said Game Boy Advance, and I knew immediately it was Fire Emblem because that's the only Game Boy Advance game that is on here. At the moment.
And so it doesn't have everything.
Let's talk about selection in a bit. Let's finish talking about like the
functionality of it or whatever
we've enjoyed about it. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
you said the spoiler filter. The one thing to sort of like knock it for is that there's no place where it shows the composers of any of these pieces of music, which is obviously if it were available on any other like streaming platform, that composer or like the group performing it would be listed out somewhere. And that's just not where this thing's priorities lie. Um, every piece of music is sorted by game, and each one also has like a discrete graphic for like that piece of music, which is like a screen grab from the game, usually evocative of the music you're hearing, which is cool and all. And like I do get where this is an issue I've had with trying to listen to and catalog classical music in like a digital format. That it doesn't work the same way that like categorizing pop music does, where you're like, I want to listen to Lady Gaga. So you just like go to Lady Gaga and like all of her music is there, right? There's no like confusing part where you're like, I want to listen to Beethoven, and you're like, okay, who's performing Beethoven, right? And like, do I just want to hear the London Symphony Orchestra playing Beethoven? Do I just want to hear like this quartet, like this specific quartet playing Beethoven? And all of these things like interact in ways that are like, it's hard to sort by composer in a lot of cases, and it's hard to sort by just there's just so many different factors like that.
Yeah, Apple created a whole separate classical music app to try to solve that problem.
And
like
it only sort of does it. Yeah.
But I know what you mean. I do feel like it would be nice if they included the composers
I agree.
in the credits of the track, like when you could look at the details, even
Yes.
if you can't create like a Koji Kondo
Right.
or David Wise, like playlist based on that. It would just be nice
Right.
to have that attribution in each of the tracks.
But also, let's get those playlists. Like, I would love to hear a playlist of all like David Wise tracks. That'd be awesome.
It's interesting that I guess that there still are like tracks that we don't know who specifically composed it.
Right.
Like in the Breath of the Wild soundtrack or the Tears of the Kingdom, for example, we know who the composers on the game were, but we don't necessarily know who did each individual track.
Right.
And I don't know if that's something that Nintendo purposely keeps vague for their own whatever reasons, like.
Yeah, it's just like kind of not the culture of like Japanese art development in general. And I'm art in like the sort of holistic umbrella term here, that it's just like not, you're working for Nintendo, you're making Nintendo music, or you're making a Nintendo game, and like your names are all going to be listed together, but like you are in service of the greater thing. And so I think that there's like a little bit of a cultural difference there between how like the rest of the world views like art creation and like Japanese businesses specifically. So I get that it's not a priority for them, but I just wish that that attribution was there anyway.
Let's talk about the fact that this exists at all.
Yeah. I mean, I love this. And for me, like because I saw that there was like some reaction online about like, why doesn't Nintendo just dump all these things on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever? And for one, I like that it's available to anyone with a Nintendo Switch Online subscription. If you're a kid and like your parents got you a Nintendo Switch Online subscription, now you have access to this music app too. Like, I don't know. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I personally like it being its own app.
Yeah.
I think it makes it more special because special, and also when I go to it, it's very purposeful.
Yes.
Because I have some video game music on my, like Apple Music or whatever, but it's just lost in everything else.
Totally. Yes.
And so, I don't know. It's just, for my brain, I prefer having it be its own like discrete experience.
Yeah, I prefer it to, because like I do engage with video game music, but when I choose to, right? It bugs me when I'm listening to like Apple Music will do like a your favorites list or like heavy rotation or chill list, and if I'm listening to that and it's like pop music.
Yeah, totally.
And I'm like, great. And then it's like, here's a track from Shovel Knight. And I'm like, okay, now you're making me look stupid in front of the people who are listening to my cool, like, get up and dance track. It also will bum me out when it's like, and here are some tracks from musicals, where I'm like, no, let's sort these things better, please.
Yes, totally.
Yeah, I mean, being able to just, like, go into the walled garden that is the Nintendo Music app, like, I love it.
I also think from Nintendo's perspective, it makes so much sense. Like,
Yes.
this is, we see with everything that they do that they value their intellectual property, they value their things so much, and they realize that the value of them
Yes.
is that they control it. And so it's like, Nintendo Switch Online, from my perspective, is evolving more into a Nintendo membership where it's
Right.
like, hey, yeah, you pay us this $20 a year for now, and here are all the things that you get for doing that.
Right.
And just putting the music online with everything else on Apple Music or whatever, I can see from their perspective how it devalues it, and it doesn't achieve the goal, which is to make this a differentiator and to make people want to engage with Nintendo specifically. They don't want you to go to, like you said, to go to Apple Music and have this experience that's mixed with, it's just part of everything else, right? They want it to be, I go to Nintendo Music to engage with Nintendo, and I think of it as its own discrete experience and thing, and I don't have to worry about it showing up against like explicit lyrics. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
totally.
it's all about image control, and I don't think that that's like, it's not a thing that bothers me. I like that. I like that it's a separate curated experience. Because if in my own life personally, I'm trying to carve out those spaces more.
Yes.
Like, because I feel like there's just so much information overload everywhere that having it be something separate and special is important to me.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that. And I also wanted to just circle back around to the thing that you mentioned about the Nintendo Switch Online subscription, like becoming something bigger than what it originally was. In its conception, it's like, this is the thing that you need to pay for to play Nintendo Switch Online. But so much of what's good about it now is the classic console libraries, which you could argue isn't an online feature, and then this music app, which you can argue isn't a Switch feature. So like truly, the Switch and online part of it, like immaterial. It is, as you're saying, a Nintendo subscription, and that's cool. I like that.
Yeah, and like you got access to Alarmo first, and you can buy the special controllers, and that's really what I want from this, honestly, is, hey, yeah, like I'm part of this club, and what cool things do I get
part of
for
some kind of society?
And what cool things do I get for participating in this? Okay, now let's talk about the fact that we have been asking for this exactly for so long, and it is so crazy that it is a real thing.
Yes. And it's not exactly what I had asked for before. Like, in my mind, I wanted something even more restrictive, right? That was like, that it would unlock music for you as you unlocked music in whatever games had music players. And partially that's, spurred on by the Smash Ultimate soundtrack, which has all these all these tracks and from different game series and whatever, and they even touted the ability to like turn the screen off and just like listen to music coming out of your tiny Switch speakers, but like this is better than what I imagined.
But I think when the news dropped, I posted in the Discord like, holy cow, I can't believe they actually did it, or something like that.
Yes,
because it was something that we've been talking about. It was also interesting that I think recently, like maybe 6 months ago, in their quarterly earnings Q&A with investors, somebody specifically asked about Nintendo Music. And their answer was evasive, but was basically like, we recognize that it is something that is valuable. And, we're thinking about and exploring ways that we could use it. And then they must have already been working on this when that question came up.
It's how big of like an impact do you think the announcement and release of this music app, like, has it reached outside the like video game sphere?
So it definitely
within?
reached like mainstream tech websites like The Verge and stuff like that. And I don't know if it is right now as of this recording, but in the last few days, it was the #1 free app on the Apple App Store in the US. So I think like anytime Nintendo does something that breaks through, like anytime Nintendo does something new, it garners attention because Nintendo is like a special company in that way that so many people have a connection with. that so yeah, it's kind of like Alarma where it's like, what is the long-term reality of the
Right.
Nintendo's music app? But we talked about this a tiny bit or mentioned it, that they're going to continue adding music to the library, and even since it launched, they've added Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and just a few hours ago they added Donkey Kong Country 2,
Diddy's Conquest.
Diddy's Conquest. But is this going to be like NSO where they eventually, like they reach a point where they're like, we're basically done, and now every once in a while, every few months out of the blue, something will get added? Because there's so much Nintendo music that
Right.
could be added to this.
Yes.
But I can't imagine it'll ever be exhaustive. I just wonder how close we will get to that.
And how long that'll take, right? So the current library, is it okay if I run through all of this? Because I think it's interesting.
Sure.
What's on here? And okay, so Super Mario Brothers on the NES, Metroid, both the NES and the Famicom
Love
disk
this.
system
Love
versions
that.
of it. Incredible, good omen for the future of NES and Famicom games on this thing. But that's it for the NES games in here so far. Kirby's Dream Land for Game Boy, Dr. Mario for Game Boy, Yoshi's Island for Super NES, Donkey Kong Country for Super NES, and as you mentioned, Donkey Kong Country 2, which just got added today, Monday. The service, by the way, went live last Wednesday. Thursday, they added Mario Wonder. Nothing on Friday, nothing over the weekend, and now a game today. Interesting to consider what that means for future releases. Are we going to get like every weekday except for
Right,
Friday?
yeah.
I mean, who knows? Ocarina of Time on Nintendo 64 and Star Fox 64. Fire Emblem, the only game from the GBA represented here, and the only game from the GameCube is Metroid Prime.
I do hope someday we get the Donkey Kong Country GBA soundtracks.
Okay.
Because they're just different.
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Like Donkey Kong Country 3 has basically a completely different soundtrack on the Game Boy Advance, and having both of those would be cool, but who knows if we'll ever get there.
Tomodachi Collection on the DS, which is the Japanese name for Tomodachi Life, and it's reflected in the graphic that it's Japanese writing. Nintendogs is the other DS representative, and as pointed out in the Discord, Nintendogs stylized with the lowercase n at the beginning of it. So just update your Nintendo like dictionary or whatever.
Your nomenclature.
Yeah, Nintendogs lowercase n. Then Super Mario Galaxy and the Wii channels on Wii, and that Wii channels, man. That's a game changer.
Yeah.
Because you get like the regular Wii system music, the Wii Shop channel, the Mii Maker. It's incredible. And then on Switch, this is where the system that has the most representation for obvious reasons. Pikmin 4, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Splatoon 3, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Kirby Star Allies, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, and Breath of the Wild, plus Wonder, which we already mentioned, had been added just after launch.
And then they are teasing some for the future as
Yes.
well, or at least we saw them in the trailer, like Wii Sports, Super Mario 64, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Oof, so excited for that one.
Mhm.
Splatoon 2, The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, and F-Zero X.
Interesting, Donkey Kong Country 2 was included in that like little teaser reel, but Super Mario Brothers Wonder was not. So I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah. But exciting.
Exciting.
It's fun, and it feels like something that, because I listen to quite a bit of video game music. That's the other thing, is like it's out there if you want
Totally,
it, right?
yes.
It's not on Spotify, it's not on Apple Music, but it's all over YouTube.
Right.
And so I listen to quite a bit of video game music while I'm working, and I'm really into these playlists that they're putting together and
Yeah, me
updating
too.
frequently. So yeah, it will be interesting to see what the life of this is. But I do like that it started with playlists that you can share. It'd be cool if they eventually get to like, how fully featured will this be? Could you do collaborative playlists in the future where we create one in the Discord and everybody can add their favorite tracks? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I don't know what their ultimate goal is for it, but I'm glad that it exists.
And I'm glad that it seems like they are aggressively adding to it already. Makes me wonder why this stuff isn't on there to begin with, other than they get like an additional marketing beat with like the Nintendo diehards every time they put a new soundtrack on this thing. That'll wear off at some point. When they add like Kid Icarus of what's it? Gods and
Gods
Monsters?
and Monsters.
Yeah. Myths and Monsters, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because Gods and Monsters
That's
is
that Brendan Fraser movie,
yeah,
right?
No, James Whale.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So, but yeah, it does.
But
make me
it
wonder
does
why.
make sense to me that they're like there is so much Nintendo music
Absolutely.
that it doesn't really make sense for them to launch with everything. And just like do you know what? I wonder if this was developed by that joint partnership, like that new company that they spun up with DNA.
Nintendo Systems Co.
I
Ltd?
wonder, yeah, I wonder if this was an initiative
Yeah, could be.
there. Anyways,
Anyway,
Nintendo
we're-
music.
We're stupid excited about this thing, and I don't care if everyone else hates it. I'm very much into it.
Finally, McDonald's in the US is promoting Super Mario Kart 8 Deluxe
Sure.
with Happy Meal toys.
Gotta
This
help
actually,
out.
this is
Quiet
actually
little
the
game.
third Mario Kart 8 Happy Meal promotion. The first was in 2014 with the game's original release on Wii U. Then again, they did it in 2022. This time, the bases of the toys can be swapped, and carts can be customized with a sticker sheet. So
So we're going to McDonald's.
we're going to McDonald's.
So funny that this is the third time that Mario Kart 8 specifically is
Uh-huh.
getting Happy Meal toys.
10 years.
10 years. The game is a behemoth. I know that like timelines on these things for like McDonald's partnerships are like notoriously like long and broken.
Right, we already got they already had like a promotion for the Captain America movie that doesn't come out until next year.
Right. Yes, that's right. And they're just like, well, I don't know, it's in motion, so like here we go. It's just funny to me that like does this mean there was ever like some kind of something that they were going to be promoting Mario Kart wise?
Yeah, impossible to know. Or is Mario Kart just like Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats now? It's just now and
Right.
forever.
Right. Yeah, I mean I that makes perfect. Nintendo certainly seems to see it that way, right?
Yep.
All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. If it's still Tuesday, make sure to get out there and vote if you have not already. And if you would like to join our Discord, you can email us Nintendo Cartridge Society
At gmail.com.
I will send you an invitation. You can get in there and chat with us. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.